Hello everyone and welcome back. In this session we are going to create the login function, generate the access token and access some protected resources. So let's get started. In this API, by default, Visual Studio created this controller for us called Weather Forecast Controller. Let's open it. Okay. Here we have only one action, get action. This gonna return some random weather forecast info for 5 days. Okay, so let's try it by running the API. Okay, as you can see here, when you open this URL or make a GET request, you can access to this. Any user or any client can access this data just by getting this URL. Okay, so let's try that from Postman. Create a new GET request, paste the URL and hit send. Okay, you can see the data. So now we are going to protect this data and only the authorized users can access it. Let's see how we can do this. First, to protect this controller with all its actions, we can simply add the authorized attribute here. Okay, use Microsoft ASP.NET Core authorization. Nice. Another thing that I want to do is the authentication middleware in startup.cs. Here, before authorization, add app.use authentication. Okay, right now, let's try it again. Okay, as you can see, there is no data and we got the error code 401, which means you are not authorized. We can see the response here. Yeah, you see status 401 unauthorized. So because we are not an authenticated user, you have to be authenticated so you can access it. So right now we are going to implement the login function, generate the access token and send it in the header of this request so we can access that data. Okay. First, before I start implement the function, I want to just make a little change here in the startup class. When we initialize the services, I use some hard-coded strings here, like valid audience, valid issuer, and the key that we are going to use to encrypt the access token. I'm just gonna move this and put them inside the app settings.json file. So, because we want to access them also from the login function, generate access token. So I'm going to create an object here called auth settings. Okay, it's gonna have 3 properties: key, audience, and issuer. Okay. Let's get the key as well. Okay. And now let's access these values from the configuration here. So we can replace this with configuration. Okay. Because we want to access a property inside an object, we can call the object auth settings like this, and then we can say audience. I think I have right audience. Nice. So in this way we can access the property audience inside the auth settings object inside the app settings. Let's do that as well for Azure. And let's do it for the encryption key. Okay, that's better. So when we want to change anything, we can simply go and change it here. Also, if we use these values in other places, you don't need to change them in every place. You just come to the app settings to JSON, change it, and simply. That's it. Okay, save. Now, let's go back to the our service and create a new function here. Return tasks, user manager response as well. Let's call it login user async. User manager response. Okay. The login user async gonna take a login view model. We don't have that model. Let's go to the shared library and create it. Add a new class. Login new model. Public. String email. String password. Come on. Okay. Let's add some validation. This properties required string length maximum 50, and this one is an email address. Here, let's say required string length maximum 50, minimum 5. Okay, that's enough. This is the data transfer object that we are going to wrap the login properties within it. Now, let's write the implementation of this class, of this function, sorry. Okay, public async task user manager response login user async login view model. Okay, that's nice. This function gonna take the email, check if there is any user with have that email, then check the password. Okay, if there is any user with this credentials, it's gonna generate the access token, send it back to the user with a user manager response inside the message property. Otherwise, it's gonna return user manager response, but with the property success set to false. Okay, first let's bring that user using user manager class or user manager service var user equals await user manager dot get by find by name or email. We have set the username and the email to the same value, which is the email. I'm going to use email. Add the email model dot email. Okay. Now if user equals to null, then we are going to return new user manager response message. There is no user with that email address. The success equals false. Okay. Now, here the user is existing, so let's compare the password. Let's say var result equals await user manager check password async. This method gonna take identity user, which is the user, and the password model dot password. Okay, and it returns a Boolean value, whether it's set to true or false. Okay. If result is false, then return this result, but invalid password. Okay. Here, there is a user and the credentials are right. So, what we want to do is generate that access token. The access token gonna hold claims, an array of claims. The claims is, let's say, some users related info, like the claim called, for example, email and hold the email of that user. Claims called, for example, permission, hold the permission of that user. Claim called first name, last name, etc. So we are going to create list of claims, array of claims, claims equals new claim, or we can just simply use this way, it's better. New claim. Okay. We can set the name of this claim, which is email, and its value, which is model.email. New claim. We have some set of predefined names, which is, you can find them inside the scene. Claim types dot, as you can see, name identifier, name, username, email, role, authenticate method, anonymous. We have bunch of already defined claim types. I'm going to use name identifier. I'm gonna set the ID of the user in it. Okay, and last claim. Okay, that's it. We don't have so much information about the user in the register process, so that's enough. So as you can see, we can set a custom name, or we can use some of the predefined claim types. Okay, now let's generate the token. First, going to inject instance of configuration to access configuration. So I can access the key and the auth settings from the app settings file. Configuration. Now, let's write the function that's gonna generate the access token for us. Var token equals new JWT security token. Now, in the constructor, we are going to pass some parameters. First, assure. Okay, assure we are gonna get it from configuration. All settings. Sure. Nice. The next parameter we are going to set for audience. Settings. Audience. Then we're going to set the claims. That claims array. Now the expiration date, date time, dot now, dot add days, 30. So this access token is gonna be invalid after 30 days from the generation time. What we still have is the key that we are going to use to encrypt the token. Let's print the key. Let's say key buffer equals new key equals new symmetric security key. The tokens. Okay, encoding dot UTF-8 dot get bytes. Now we are going to encode the string from configuration auth settings key. Now Here is the key. Let's set it here. Signing credentials, new signing credentials, there's a key, which is security key we have generated, and algorithm dot hmark sha 256. This is the algorithm that gonna encrypt the token. Okay, and that's it. Pretty simple, right? Let's get the token as string token as string equals to new JWT handler, security token handler, sorry. It has a function called write token. Takes a token object and give us the string representation of that token. So that's it. Return new user manager response message. We're going to embed that token inside the message, token string, and success equals to true. We need another property to the expiration date, so let me go to user manager response, go to definition, and add public date time. I'm gonna make it nullable because in the response in the register it's gonna be null, so I don't need .NET to put a default date value. Call it expire date get set. Okay, and here expire date equals to token, sorry, not expire, valid 2. Okay, that's it. So we got first we got the user, check if there is a user have that email in our database. If there is no, we just return an user manager response is set to false. There is no user with that email. Then if there is a user, we just check the password, if it's correct to this user. Okay, then if it's not correct, we just return another object with an invalid password message. Okay, if there is a user and the credentials are right, we just create a simple claims array. We create the symmetric security key to encrypt the token, and at the end we created a JWT security token object. We passed an issuer, audience, the claims, the expire date, and the key that we are going to use to encrypt. At the end, we got the string representation of that token and returns the result. Okay, let's go back to the controllers, auth controller, and create another post action. HTTP post login. So the URL is going to be auth/login. Public task action result login async from body going to receive login view model again in here and ignore future error. That's nice. Let's validate that object model state valid. If it's not valid, just return bad request. Status code 400 and new user, or just pass a normal string. Or some properties are not valid. Now, if the model is valid, let's check if our result equals await user service dot login user async, and pass that model to it. Now if result.isSuccess return OK, and the user manager response object, else return bad request with that object. Pretty nice. Let's make a test now. Okay. I'm going to Postman, create a new post request. Choose post. Let's get the URL of the API. Paste it here. /API/auth/login, and inside the body, type JSON. Let's send a login view model object email info @test.com, password ak.123. Okay, let's hit send. Okay, as you can see, the response is 200. Okay, we have a user manager response object in the response message. Here is our access token. This access true, and expire date, it's gonna be expired in 11th January 2020. Okay, nice. So let's see now how we can access the weather forecast data using this token. We're gonna take it, go back to the GET request of the weather forecast. Inside the header, we can go to authorization and set the value of barrier token to our token, the token that we have just generated, and let's hit send. Okay, so nice. Right now we have got that data. Pretty nice. Okay, cool. Before I go to the client and implement that function, let me show you something here. Inside each controller we have a property called user. From within this property we can access all the claims we can find first, like get the ID of that user, or we can pass the type of the claim, user.find first. So here inside the user service I have passed the name identifier and email, so I'm going to see, okay, here var user ID equals to user dot. We have some properties like is this user in that role, identity dot is authenticated, and define if this user is authenticated or no, and we can get the claims by using multiple functions. Either we can access it by claims using link, or we can just say find first claim types dot name identifier. Let's set a breakpoint here and call that function again from Postman. Hit send. Okay, here is the user ID, an object claim. We can go to the value, and here is our user ID. The same way you can pass as many claims as you want. So now let's move to the client and implement the function from the client side and see. The process is gonna be after the user login from the client, you are going to take that access token and store it in a safe place, maybe in a JSON file in your database or within the settings of the application. And within each request to a protected resources, you just put it in the header, as we will do right now. Let's create very basic UI, login page, okay? I'm going to call it login window. Add. Nice. I'm going to go to register window and copy the code and paste it here. The same code that we have written in the previous session. Login. And this login. Okay. Now I think I need to set width for this file. Nice. TXT email, TXT password. We don't need this confirm password, and change the name of this button to begin login. Create account. Change the content to login. The name and create a new event handler. Okay, very nice. Let's go to the code right now. Okay. Again, I'm going to go to the register window, get the same code from here. In fact, there is multiple libraries to send requests to the web API, and you don't need to repeat all this code every time. I create a client and send the request, get the response at JSON, then serialize or deserialize it. Sorry. There is multiple ways. From the next video, we are going to use specific libraries to do all this for us. Now, we are going to send login view model instead of register view model. Nice. No need to confirm password. Serialize that object. JSON data. Okay, we need to mark this method as async. Change the URL from mark the function as async and change the URL from register to login. Add the content, read the content of the response, deserialize it into a user manager response, right? And okay. If the S6 is set to true inside the response object, so this means the message property inside the user manager response object is set to the access token. So I'm not going to show any message. Whether I'm gonna to move to the main page. Show the user the main page. So frame dot navigate type of main page. Nice. And we don't need to pass any parameters. Okay, inside this main page, we are going to request that user forecast action. So I need the access token here. I'm going to pass it from the login page to the main page, response.message, response object dot message. Okay. Now, if the S6 is set to false, then show the message. It's gonna handle either an invalid password or there is no user with that email. Okay, let's make the application starts from the login page, window, and let's try. Okay, our API is up and running. Let's run an instance from our UWP application. Okay, info at test.com, ak.123, hit login. Nice. The application navigated us to the main page, and it's a pretty page with a blank content. Very nice. Okay, cool. Now, let's move to the main page and create a simple list to show the user forecast. So list view with 200. Its name is the weather forecast. Horizontal line and set to left. Okay, need to be more than 200, 400. Okay, that's good. Let's say list view dot item template, data template, stack panel. Going to see the data that the function gonna respond. Okay, where is the weather forecast class? Controllers, weather forecast control. It returns an enumerable of weather forecast. Go to definition. Okay, return the date and the temperature and the summary. I'm going just to put the summary and the date on the screen. First, let me move this class from the API object and put it inside the shared object so we can access it from our client. New class called weather forecast. Okay, I'll forget the E here. Sorry. Okay, public. That's nice. Now to the weather forecast controller again. Just use. Okay, so now we have access to that class from all our projects. So text block, text binding to the summary, option center, margin to another text gonna contain the date, bind it to the date property, date and summary, right? Okay. What is that? Content alignment to stretch. Now loaded event or go to the code behind file first. When we just navigate to this page, we're gonna get the access token from the parameter that we have sent from the login page and access the weather forecast API. So override, understand we have function called on navigated from or on navigated to. Okay, when you navigate to this page, first let's get the access token that we sent here. When you navigate equals, we can find it inside the navigation event args instance e dot parameter, it's of type object to string. So here is our access token. Now let's make another GET request, but set the access token inside the header of that request to access the weather forecast. I'll mark this method as async, and again copy this code, paste it here. HTTP client, we don't need, it's a GET request, and GET request doesn't have a body, so there is no need to content here. Get async, and the URL is weather forecast. Okay, have any spelling mistakes? Nice. And we don't have a content. Now we just need to set the access token inside the header of the request. We can set it by saying client dot default request headers dot authorization dot equals new string schem equals to barrier, and the value is that access token. Nice. This way we set the access token inside the header of the request the same way we did in Postman. We set authorization, barrier token, and the value of that token. Okay, now the response is enumerable of type weather forecast. So use the newtonsoft.json and deserialize the response into an enumerable of type weather forecast. Very nice. So now inside the response object, nice. I'm going to change the name of this to weather forecasts. Okay, that's enough. And now let's assign this list to the list weather forecast dot items source equals to weather forecast. Okay, now as soon as we navigate to this page, I'm going to send a request to the weather forecast controller, get the data, read them as a string, read the JSON, then deserialize the JSON into an enumerable of type weather forecast, and assign that list to our list view, the property item source. Let's test that out. Run, debug, start new instance. Let's log in, info test.com, k.123, login. Okay. Here we go. Very nice. Okay. Now inside the real world applications, when you are building real world applications, you simply can store the access token here after you get it inside, for example, the application settings, and store it with the expired date. And when you launch the application, check the settings if there is any access token and it's valid, it's not expired, so you can immediately navigate to the main page without going to the login page. And the logout operation can remove that access token from the settings and navigate the user to the login page. This is from the client side. That was everything for today. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you have any questions, put them inside the comments below. And for the next video, we are going to implement the email confirmation functionality. After the user creates a new account, we send him an email contains a link to confirm that this is a real email address, not a fake one. Okay, the current code is available on GitHub. You can find it you can find the link in the description. In addition to that, at the end, thank you very much for watching. Please, if you enjoyed the video, just hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to get notified with every new video I publish. Thank you again, and ciao for now.